Well, hello everyone. You have to talk about here is talk about for marital status, and you have right here that you're talking about for free spot. So if there's going to be a lady that's going to maybe ask talk about as to where that between the spouse and then the groom, and then of course the groom and then the fiance. But talk about right here of a free spot right here. So if anybody will want to where that they talk about for marital status, and part of this video I also want to talk about is talk about for the micropayment. So if there's going to be anything about what you call paying bills, but also that since 1890 that you're going to come in that situation to where that since 1890 that there's been a business that's been around for 50 years. And just wondering too as to where that for the most part about talk about how we explain about marital status. So how is it that about a man and woman, or whenever a man and woman who fall in love, and you have here's a heart right here, and with that heart that would represent for like anything what you call for love right here. So if I say you say with the red pen right there to draw the buzz of the heart right there. But talk about for marital status. That if anybody were to ask me about what you call for if it's related to any source of marital status, that the situation I'm referring to is about classmates. So let's just say that while you were attending college, that there was somebody in particular that you fell in love with, and that person would also be like before that you attended that college, or before that you started working for the business, that you may have fell in love with one of the students there, one of the secretaries, one of the librarians there working there at the school. So let's just say that if the situation goes by as to where about the connection right here, for marital status. How do we explain? How do we describe marital status? And that's basically a way of saying is to where that whenever you're married, it's not just you who's going to be for any benefits or anything related to maybe tax filing, or if it's anything else that it's going to be related to between for you and the spouse. It's like it's basically that the connection of the two. So basically that if anybody were to ask me as to where about talk about for marital status about love though. But still, though, that I could also maybe mention too is to where that with the two couples right here, that it's like say that they ask a question to where that how did you find me, and they say that well land on a free spot, but since 1890, and I came up with this idea about 1890 was about a year to where that that was before I was even born, so before we were even born, and maybe the fiance may show you a book, like a booklet, talking about to where how the grandparents met and how the grandparents got married and where they got married. So just like this, it's like to where that when we're filling out anything related to marital status, basically means is to where that for marital status that if you are if you got a spouse, or if you're following jointly, then that there's benefits or some sort, that there's information related to of the two of the couples, if you call it. But let's just say the situation came to about classmates. How many of us have come in a situation to where we fall in love while we were attending school? So let's just say at one time that if this was the example right here of me right here, at one time I fell in love with one of the girls, like say who was in the class, and let's just say that with the relationship. And she's going to say is to where that just because class is over, that don't mean that the relationship is over. And on the other hand, it could also be related to about connections. So it's like, that there's only about maybe 5 or 6 weeks of class. But so far as meeting this person, maybe at the diner, or at the restaurant, or maybe at the coffee shop, or somewhere like that, like at the park. But how do we describe a marital status to talk about, for like what we call for true love, though? And the first thing I'm going to maybe say about is to where that, if we're talking about a company, though, a company that has been in business for, since 1890, and you're also thinking as to where that was before I was even born. So how do we explain about that to where that, a company or business that has been around since before, you were born, and just like I say that, for young couples, young students, and as you get older, that you'll realize a little bit more about the relationship and about the story, about, for how the connection came around. But talking about right here is they have right here is me right here, and I went and changed the look up just a little bit. I'll talk about for little brother. So let's just say if somebody were to ask me, write to me even by text messaging, and they're going to be like, that, you connected with them just to show that, if somebody were to ask me that, why so interested? Like, well, I wanted to be a little brother, to this, for this relationship, I want to be a little brother. And so let's just say that, little brother, we're not related. Yeah, I know we're not related, but, on the other hand, too, I guess what are you going to say to the lady about somebody that you're trying to speak out to, and somebody, how much that you show that you care, and so what's the best ways of how we want to impress our feeling about, to where that somebody that you're interested in or somebody that you really want to talk to, and it seems like it goes by the source of language, the source of language, to where that feeling and touch, and anything about, physiology, source of research, to where that how people think, and then, so far as feeling goes, but talk about for like true love, right? Talk about for marital status, that, likely one to where that whenever, young adults, I guess, young teenagers and young adults, you just think about is to where that the first thing that you might see on an advertisement, if it's about, maybe about, if it's for true love or if it's about a relationship in a matter, that the first thing you're going to maybe hear about is to where that this business has been around for nearly, over 50 years, and you're likely to think as to where that, the first question that you may ask is to where that was before my time. So that before somebody was even born, that they're going to maybe realize that that they've been around. That company is even older than I am, or somebody may say that company, that business is older than I am. But you have right here talk about for marital status. That how do we explain about relationships? And you have right here for text and chat right here. For text and chat, so you say that if you want to start a conversation, maybe on Facebook or maybe Instagram, you start working on some stuff on Instagram, and let's just say that there's a cute looking lady that comes on Instagram and starts talking to you or something. So it's like, it seems like that you're total strangers until that you realize a little bit more about the relationship, but talk about right here of besides the free spot, and then talk about for text chat. So it's like that the way I paint this right here is to where if I would have maybe lipstick prints all over my face, or maybe heart, it's like makeup or something like that all over my face, but the spouse right here, I'm like, the spouse that she would have, like say that normal look on her face, or if it's what you call just a little bit of highlight, from the sunburn or something like that, the highlight. She would have the highlight on her face, but then the gentleman would have this, what you call this lipstick print on her face. And like I say that, how is it that the two of them are able to show their connection, especially if we're talking about an application of some sort, talk about for marital status. To share our hearts, or talk about for marital status. That it's like, since 1890, that's the way that how connections meet. And the way I think about it, too, is to where, that how are you going to really say, it's like you start by saying the stories to where, since 1890 that we've been, I'm like, well, that was before our time. Think about maybe the young couples, who are between the ages of 25 and maybe 41. And you're like, we wanted to where that, since you were young, and knowing about what do you think that love really was. And so it's like this. Let's just say, though, with these two paintings right here, with these two drawing paintings right here, that, let's just say this was an example right here of classmates. So these two right here, a man and woman, like a boy and girl, they met whenever they were in class. So they met while they were in class. But let's just say that the first question that they're going to ask is to her that, is a relationship, our relationship is not over with just because class is over. So it seems like developing a trusted relationship, too, is like for a free spot. So the first thing that I'm going to more likely say is that, you wanted to be a little brother to somebody. I wanted to be a little brother to somebody. What exactly does that mean? Well, it basically means is to where that, little brother that, that knows so much and then for what he's willing to do, for the big thing, for the big relationship. And that which called the big relationship is to where that how much willingness is the man willing to put into a relationship to let the spouse know about the situation. So let's just say that, if anybody were to say that nowadays, it seems like that like say that, people are pretty impressed. It's like knowing about whenever you meet and then whenever you get married, of course, that how many people are impressed about that. Whenever you get married or you join a group or you get connected or something like that. But talk about with the heartstone. It's like, really, if somebody were to include the sentence right here and, with that sentence right there on the heart, it could mean it's like for I love you. And how many of us, really, there would be like a you right there, but that, still, that they go ahead and say is like for I love you. How many of us really have seen that source a message, written, I'm like, if it's on a greeting card, but really, that, on notes, but still, that if you were to be sending messages such as, for I love you, but let's just say for how it was phrased, and let's just say that, from how much somebody remembers, and then let's just say that, the connection, was, so I say that you stay connected just by, from what you learned in school, and then just by everything that person, that special person that knows about, about that, that other, like if you want to call it, the spouse, it's like between the groom and the spouse, is that, whenever you were classmates for those, for a while until that you say is to where that, talk about for marital status. Basically means is to where that, that, for the past year or two, have you recently gotten married? And let's just say that first question that somebody's going to maybe ask is to where that, how did you meet and how did you stay connected? So it seems like that, whenever a man and woman, whenever they meet, though, it seems like that, who's going to be keeping quiet more often and who's going to be speaking up more often. So let's just say that if the situation goes by to where that, that the guy, though, the guy who's going to be what's called considered for a little brother, that for which one who's going to ask the questions, and then which one is going to maybe just assume as to where that, but still that, but let's just say if the lady were to ask the questions. The lady were to ask the questions, but then the guy right here, the guy would kind of be like, that, any questions for me? Well, if you really want to know, or if you don't want to know. But the way I think about too is I talk about for relationships. How do relationships begin? And I guess the topic I could maybe mention is to where that, you may have heard that before, to where while you were sleeping that there's been, an engagement, discussion going on, or, anything like that about what you call for certain trust and honesty. But also, I also want to mention too about what you call for micropayment. So if anybody will warn to where that if you're going to be getting into a relationship and knowing about how couples will be able to keep their relationship, right? And the first thing that they're going to maybe want to talk about is to where the things that they learned in class. And then what I would maybe mention to the spouse would be is to where that, I am not a straight A student. And then that spouse may say to me, neither was I. But I want to let you know, I want to invite you for a cup of tea. Or, that the lady is going to maybe ask the guy, to join them for a coffee or something. So let's just say, though, that, does love, really, I'm like, how you probably say is to where that, does love require you to meet just because you were an A+ student, just because you had no bills at all, just because that you've been in business for over 50 years? How does the relationship start, and how does it stay connected? And the way I think about it, too, is to where I could say that, not everybody's born to be perfectly, but so I'd probably say for the marital status, though. With the marital status, that if you're going to be meeting somebody in particular, especially while they were in college, and like say is to where that 5.5 weeks may not seem like a very long time just to be able to, work on the whole process of succeeding for a good, grade, just to pass the class. But let's say while you were in school, then there's going to be somebody that's going to maybe come up and say that, that they got real strong feeling about the relationship. And that with that relationship is to where that, since 1890 that this is how relationships of the research happen. But until that, I say that, there is something else that goes by, say, for something to remember by, insofar as the marital status, you say, measure of history, that knowing about how a man and a woman connect. But other than that, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.